Today I'm going to be showing you how to crochet this absolutely gorgeous camel stitch border. Now the camel stitch border has this wonderful ribbed texture on the front and the back of it is completely flat. This border is suitable for literally any crochet blanket. It looks great, it's easy to do, so let's leap straight on in. Now you have your bare blanket that you want to crochet your border around. Now I definitely recommend grabbing some stitch markers for this camel stitch border. They will be invaluable to you. So grab your first colour of yarn. Now for me, on my Festival Pick and Mix blanket, I used black, but that is impossible to teach with. So I'm going to be using white for my first couple of rounds. So pop a slip knot onto your hook and then find the chain corner space on your blanket. So we're going to work a standing single crochet into the chain corner space of our blankets. And to do that, we're just going to pop our hook into the corner space, pull up a loop. You'll have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, and you've created a standing single crochet. Now chain 2 and work a single crochet back into the chain 2 corner space. Now we're going to work a single crochet into every stitch along the side. If you are working a squares blanket which has lots of joins along the side, don't worry, I'm going to show you how we straddle this join when we get there. So work 1 single crochet into the top of every stitch. Now all my squares have 19 stitches on them, so I have worked 19 single crochets. When you get to the joining area where you have joined squares along the side, to straddle this area, we're going to work a single crochet, 2 together, starting in one chain 2 space and ending in the next. So we're just going to insert our hook and draw up a loop, and then insert your hook into the chain 2 space of the next square. So you'll have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over and draw all 3 loops together. So you have 2 single crochets, which we've crocheted together. So single crochet, 2 together over the joining spot of your squares. Then continue working single crochets into every stitch all the way along until you get to the very far corner of your blanket and you're at the chain 2 corner space. So if you are working this border around a blanket which is just 1 row of stitches, you would simply work 1 single crochet into every stitch until you reach the other side. When working with joined squares like this, you work 1 stitch into all the stitches from the squares, and when you meet the chain 2 joining area where you have 2 squares joined, you'll do a single crochet 2 together to span that gap. You work that all the way along, and then when you reach the other side of your blanket, you'll be at the chain 2 corner space. Into that chain 2 corner space, you'll work 1 single crochet, chain 2, and 1 more single crochet to come around the corner. So we're going to work this around all 4 sides of your blanket. 1 single crochet into every stitch along the side. When you reach a point where you have 2 squares meeting, if you have that in your blanket, you will work a single crochet 2 together. Then when you get to the bottom chain 2 corner space of your blanket, you will work a new corner, which is 1 single crochet, chain 2, 1 single crochet. Work this around the remaining 3 sides of your blanket and meet me back here right at the beginning of the round so I can show you how to finish this first foundation row of stitches. So I'm just finishing my last few stitches along this final side. And I have now reached the point where I'm back to that standing single crochet we did right at the beginning of the round. So you should have a nice foundation of just single crochets all the way around your project. Now to finish this first round, we're going to find that very first starting single crochet that we did, and we're going to join with a slip stitch. So pop your hook under those 2 loops, bring the yarn in front of the slip knot from your standing stitch and join with a slip stitch. Round 1 complete. Now for round 2, this is where we're going to want those stitch markers, so make sure that you have them handy. This is the second foundation row we need to do before we begin the camel stitch itself. So we're going to chain 1, which does not count as a stitch, and then work 1/2 double crochet into that exact same place. Now pop a stitch marker into this stitch. It's going to be really easy to lose, and you don't want to accidentally add too many stitches. So that chain 1 and this slip stitch here, you don't want to work into those when we come back around. So this is so you can clearly identify the first true stitch of this round. Then we are going to immediately be in the chain 2 space. Now into our corners, we're going to work 3 half double crochets. However, we are going to do something just a little bit obscure. So work 1 half double crochet into that chain 2 space. Then work your second of those 3 that we're going to work. So there is the second half double crochet. And now lift your loop up and out, and we're just going to study this stitch for a second. So you have here the front loop and the back loop, front loop, back loop. Then down below, we have a third loop. It's a horizontal bar at the back of your stitch. If I turn the work around, you might be able to spot it a bit more easily. So here are the 2 loops where you would place your hook when working under a stitch normally, and we have this horizontal bar just below. Now that is what's referred to as the third loop. This is the area we're going to work into on the next round and all subsequent rounds to create the camel stitch. So you have your V on the top and a horizontal bar behind. You can find it as well by just rolling the tops of these stitches. So the little V's, if I just roll them forwards, they're popping out are the horizontal bars at the back. So what you want to do on this second half double crochet, and trust me, this will make your life a lot easier the more rounds we work. You want to find that third loop. So there's the front loop, the back loop, roll it forward slightly, and there is this horizontal loop. Mark the horizontal loop, this third loop, with a stitch marker. You may think that on the next round you'll spot it really easily, but it is incredibly easy to work into the wrong horizontal loop after you've done a few rounds. You can go third loop blind after a while, so just by marking it, you know exactly which stitch we're going to be working into for our corners on the next round. So if I turn it to the back again, just to give you one more look, here are the normal V's that you would work under to create your stitch, and here is the third loop. That's the one you want to pop a stitch marker into. So we've created 2 half double crochets in the corner already. We need 3 in total. So work 1 more half double crochet into that chain 2 corner space. So we have the first stitch of the row that we marked, then we have 3 corner stitches, and that middle one, the second one, we have marked the horizontal third loop back bar already. Now we're going to work 1 half double crochet into the tops of all these single crochets along the side. So this round is nice and simple, just 1 half double crochet into the tops of every single crochet along the side until you hit your chain 2 corner space. So I've worked 1 half double crochet into the tops of all those stitches from the row below, and now I am at my chain 2 corner space, and into here we are going to work 3 half double crochets. Now we need to mark the 3rd loop on the 2nd half double crochet. So work 1 half double crochet, work the 2nd half double crochet, and then take your hook out, pull the loop up so it doesn't unravel. Find that 3rd loop and mark it with a stitch marker. So I have the V's, the front and the back loop, and then this 3rd loop marked at the back. So that is 2 half double crochets made. Make 1 more to complete the corner. And then we're going to repeat this all the way around. Half double crochet into every stitch along the sides. When you get to the chain 2 corner space, work 3 half double crochets into that chain 2 space, but mark the 3rd loop on your 2nd half double crochet stitch. So you've got 2 more corners to go, and 1, 2, 3 sides before you are back to where we started. So go ahead, crochet around, and I'll meet you back over here to show you how we finish this 2nd round. So as we approach the very last couple of stitches here, you want to be careful to ignore the slip stitch and the chain 1 that you made at the start of this round. That's why we marked the top of the 1st true stitch. Now take out your stitch marker, and we're going to join with a slip stitch to that very 1st stitch that you made. Chain 1, cut your yarn, leaving a nice long tail for weaving in at the end, and pull it tight. Now grab whatever you want your next colour to be. And for me, I'm going to use red, and I'm going to pop a slip knot onto my hook. Now you should have all your corner stitches, the 3rd loop of your 2nd half double crochet in each corner nicely marked. Now pick one of them, any will do. I like to switch up which ones I am attaching to for each time I attach a new colour. So if I start my red in this one, then on the next round I'm going to pick another corner to start my yarn in. So we're going to be working into this 3rd loop of all the stitches from now on. So if you pull your work, just roll the top of those stitches forwards, you can see them sitting like a little cable at the back of your half double crochets. See that little ridge? That is what we're going to be working into, and we're going to start by working into the 1st one that you have in a corner that is marked. So the 2nd half double crochet of each corner. So into this loop, we're going to work a standing half double crochet. If you want to leave your stitch marker in just for a second so you don't lose sight of it, that's absolutely fine. You're going to yarn over and put your finger on both those loops so they don't spin off your hook. Now working into the 3rd loop, so we are completely ignoring the V stitches on the front. The 3rd loop, work a half double crochet. We're doing a standing stitch, so I've inserted my hook, drawing up a loop. I have 3 loops on my hook. yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. That is a standing half double crochet stitch. Now you can take out your stitch marker. So you can see this is the front, the V's, and this is the 3rd loop on the back. Now we're going to work a half double crochet into the 3rd loop of all your half double crochet stitches along the side until you hit your marked stitch in the corner. So here is the front loop, here is the back loop. Fold those out of the way. There is the 3rd loop. I'm being quite physical. I'm literally covering the front and back loops, the little V, and I am just pulling it forward and exposing this 3rd loop at the back. Work a half double crochet in there. It feels a little odd to begin with, but after a while you won't even be looking for that 3rd loop. It's super easy to spot. Top V of your stitch, pull it forward. There's the 3rd loop waiting for you. Pull your little tops of the stitches down. There's the 3rd loop. This is where we're working our half double crochets into the 3rd loop of the half double crochets from the row below. So by working your stitches into the 3rd loop, it pushes these front V's forwards, which is what creates this beautiful ribbed texture at the front. The back is completely flat. So keep working this into the 3rd loop all the way along until you get to your next marked stitch. So I am now at my first marked stitch of a corner, and into this marked stitch we're going to form a new corner, working into the 3rd loop only. We're going to work 3 half double crochets, but again, just as we did on this white round, we're going to mark the 3rd loop of the 2nd stitch. So work 1 half double crochet into the 3rd loop of that stitch. Work your 2nd half double crochet into the same loop. Find that 3rd loop on your new half double crochet that you've just made. There it is. Mark it, and then work 1 more half double crochet into that same space. So coming around the corner, we have 3 half double crochets, and always mark that 2nd one. That way you know your corners will be nicely in line. Then it's simply repeating all along the sides, 1 half double crochet into the 3rd loop of all your half double crochets on the side. When you hit your next marked stitch, work 3 half double crochets into that stitch and mark the 3rd loop of the 2nd half double crochet, just as we've just done. Work that all the way around, and then meet me back right at the end, and I'll show you how to finish off this round. So once you have worked your final stitch into the final 3rd loop, you'll be right back to the beginning where we started with a standing half double crochet. Now to finish this round, work 2 more half double crochets into that exact same spot where you first started, and on the 2nd one, mark the 3rd loop. Then you can go ahead and slip stitch to join to your standing half double crochet. Chain 1, cut your yarn, leaving a nice long end for weaving in. Then grab your next colour and pick a different spot to start in. So all subsequent rounds that we make are going to be exactly the same as this red round. You can keep going as much as you like. Every time we create a new round of camel stitch, it pushes the V's forwards and they start lining up nicely, and you get this nice little ridge. So in a separate corner, just as we did in the red round, we're going to start with a standing half double crochet into that marked stitch. So I am just recapping what we did on the very last round. Then you can take out that stitch marker and we work 1 half double crochet into the 3rd loop of each of the half double crochets from the round below. So just working into that 3rd loop, you can see it pushes these red ones forward as we work. Again, the back stays nice and flat, and you'll work this all the way until you get to your next marked 3rd loop. Once you reach the next marked 3rd loop, you're going to do exactly what you've done before, which is work 3 half double crochets into it, but mark that 2nd one, mark the 3rd loop of that 2nd stitch. Then continue around. Then once you reach the end of the round and you're back to that very first back loop that you first worked your first standing half double crochet into, work 2 more half double crochets and mark the 3rd loop of that 2nd half double crochet. Then join with a slip stitch to your standing half double crochet at the beginning of the round. Chain 1, cut your yarn, leave a nice long length for weaving in at the end. Pick a different corner again and join your next colour. You will simply repeat this over and over until you have added all the colours that you want to add. So you can see here on my personal border, I had the starting round of single crochet and the first round of half double crochet in black. I then did a round of camel stitch in red, orange, which is the row we've just done, and then I repeated that row over and over. I did a yellow one, a green one, a blue one, and a bright pink one. And then there is just this final row to go. So once you have added in all your colours, we can do this little final row. So for your very final row, we want to return to whichever colour we started with. So for me, that's white, or of course any colour that you like. I find just matching it in ties it in quite nicely. Now you'll notice that your last row of half double crochet stitches stand a bit proud. The front of them are not leaning forward like your other 2 rows. Now in the past, I used to do this final row of camel stitch using a single crochet stitch to push these forwards. However, I have adopted a technique that I learned from Tony at TL Yarn Crafts, and she uses slip stitches, which, to be honest, is genius. I don't know why I didn't think of that myself. It gives a really fun effect on the back as well. So I'm going to show you how to do that right now. So once you are ready to begin, you can use any stitch that you fancy. You can go into one of these marked corner stitches if you so wish, but I actually prefer to start along a side edge for this very final row. So roll the tops of your stitches forwards, find the third loop of one of your stitches, and I'm just looping a length of yarn onto my hook and pulling it forwards. Leave a nice long tail for weaving in, and then chain 1. Now that first chain does not count as anything. So into the very next half double crochet, third loop at the back, work a slip stitch. Now be loose, be nice and loose with these slip stitches. Again, into the next third loop, a slip stitch. Be nice and loose, don't pull them too tightly. You don't want your whole border to pucker, and just very gently, very loosely slip stitch. You can see I'm barely pulling on these at all. I'm keeping them quite nice and loose. So I'm just working a slip stitch into the third loop of all of these half double crochets on the side. And you can see, if I'm going to take my hook out, and you can see that it is pushing all these orange stitches forwards. Here's where I haven't worked them, here's where I have. Now this is the genius of using a slip stitch. You get the V's, which looks like a stitch, without adding any height. And the back, I really like this look. It looks really fun just using a slip stitch instead of a single crochet, which is what I've always done in the past. So you can see it works really, really nicely for this. So full credit to Tony at TL Yarn Crafts, where I learnt this nifty little trick from. So we're going to keep doing this all the way along until you get to one of your marked stitches. Keep those slip stitches nice and loose. So I've reached the corner marked stitch. Now how you treat this next back loop is entirely down to your personal preference, your personal tension. You'll see very quickly whether or not what I do works for you. Feel free to experiment. So into this corner marked back loop, I work 2 slip stitches. 1, 2. Both into the same place, and then rotate my work and carry on slip stitching just 1 into each of the remaining stitches. Now for me personally, I find that gets me around the corner nicely. It doesn't pull my work in, or it doesn't add too many stitches. 2 works for me. Now you may find that adds too much bulk and you could get away with just 1 slip stitch, or you may find that isn't enough and you might want to do a slip stitch, chain 1 and another slip stitch. Have a little play with how that corner works out for you when you just lie everything down, pull it about, see how that works for you. If 2 slip stitches works, brilliant. If not, have a little play about. Whatever works for you, make sure you note down what it is you've done so you know to repeat it in the next 3 corners. So continue with this final round and meet me back at the start and I'll show you how to finish. So I have just worked my last 2 slip stitches of the round and I'm right back to where we first joined our yarn in this stitch here. So I'm going to go ahead and cut my yarn. Do not chain, and cut your yarn, leaving a nice long length to weave in. Now we're just going to lift that all the way out and we're going to join invisibly so that we can disguise this first area where we just have a loop hanging out. It's not secured with a slip knot. We just want to join it in and get that nicely hidden. So grab yourself a large eye needle. I'm going to use a really big plastic one here so you can clearly see what I'm doing. And thread up this end onto your needle. Now we're going to create a fake stitch over this little join where we first added in our yarn, just to disguise that, because it will be a lot smaller once you've woven in that end than all your other slip stitches. So with the tail that you have just cut, coming from the back to the front, ignore where we joined the yarns, these two little straggly bits here, and find the first true slip stitch of the round. From the back to the front, pop your needle underneath the two loops of that first slip stitch. Now very gently, we're going to pull the yarn, and then we're going to go into the middle of the last slip stitch that we made. So here are the little tails where we first connected the yarn. Here is the first slip stitch that we made of the round, and we've come with our yarn strand under that one. So we can adjust the length of this, and we're going to draw it down and through the center of the last slip stitch of the round that you made. Last slip stitch, first slip stitch, and straight down into the center of that, pull your tail. So you'll see it forms a little loop. So get it to be roughly the same size as all your slip stitches. And then what I did for my personal blanket was I flipped it over, and this tail that we started with, which isn't secured to anything, I brought that up and I very gently tied one small knot to keep these together. Very, very gently indeed. That way the back keeps looking the same throughout, apart from one tiny little section, and the tops of all the stitches look the same. Then you can go ahead and weave in all your ends from each round, and your camel stitch border will be complete. Now, due to the stretchy nature of these stitches, it definitely benefits from a good old-fashioned blocking, just to make sure everything is neatly in line. It's not scrunching up too much. So pin it out gently, get everything in line, and then once you've blocked it, you'll have an absolutely stunning border. Beautiful texture on the front and completely flat along the back. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please do let me know what you think of the camel stitch down in the comment section below. And until next time, happy crocheting. Bye.